Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Business English Podcast, your go-to podcast for all things related to English in the professional world. If it is your first time tuning in, we're absolutely thrilled to have you here and welcome you to the growing global community of non-native English professionals upgrading their business English ready for work. But if you are one of our regular listeners, welcome back. Today, we're diving deep into a fantastic topic, one that's incredibly relevant in the business world: persuasion and influence in business English. Have you ever found yourself in a business meeting trying to convince your team about a brilliant idea you had, but found that the words just wouldn't come out right? Or perhaps you've struggled to win over a client with your excellent product, but you just couldn't find the right expressions to sway them. Trust me, we've all been there. Mastering the art of persuasion and influence in English is a game changer. Not only does it enable you to communicate your thoughts more effectively, but it also opens up a world of opportunities, from nailing that job interview to winning that big deal for your company. But where does one start? Well, that's exactly what we'll be exploring in this episode. We'll dive into the world of persuasive and influential phrases and expressions designed to help you communicate with more impact in your professional life. And of course, this isn't going to be just a lecture. As always, we encourage you to repeat the phrases and expressions we cover back to us, because we believe that the best learning comes through practice. So, whether you're listening to this on your morning commute, during a break from work, or even while making dinner, get ready to elevate your business English skills to new heights. Let's begin our journey into the art of persuasion and influence in business English. But first, roll the tape. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Business English Podcast, helping professionals communicate more effectively, more confidently, and with impact. With your host, Rob, from Energetic English. Let's get down to business. Okay, so before we dive headfirst into the exciting world of persuasive phrases and influential expressions, let's spend a moment laying the groundwork. When we talk about persuasion and influence in a business context, what do we really mean? Well, at its core, persuasion in business is all about getting your ideas across in a convincing and compelling manner. It's about using your words to shape opinions, change minds, or encourage actions. Whether you're pitching a groundbreaking proposal, negotiating a deal, or rallying your team behind a new project, persuasion is the secret sauce that can get people on board. Influence, on the other hand, is subtly different. While persuasion often involves direct attempts to sway someone's opinion or decision, influence is more about establishing a kind of authority or trust over time. It's what makes people value your opinions, listen to your advice, or follow your lead. If you've ever been in a situation where you needed to motivate your team, steer a project's direction, or establish a strong working relationship with a partner or client, you've tapped into the power of influence. Both persuasion and influence are vital tools in the arsenal of a successful professional. But here's the kicker. If English isn't your first language, wielding these tools can feel like learning to juggle while riding a unicycle uphill in a sandstorm. Don't worry though, we've all been there, and that's exactly why this episode exists. In this episode, we're not just going to teach you a list of phrases and expressions, we're going to immerse you in them, showing you how they can be wielded effectively and comfortably in different situations. So, get ready to unlock new layers of confidence and competence in your business English communication. Buckle up, because we're about to start a deep dive into the world of persuasive and influential English. Let's kick off by exploring the extraordinary power of persuasion in business communication. When we say persuasion, what might come to mind is a charismatic speaker captivating an audience, or a sharp negotiator finalizing a hard-won deal. And you wouldn't be wrong, but there's so much more to persuasion than these high-stakes scenarios. Think about the last time you needed to request additional resources for your team, or the time you had to convince your boss to approve your vacation time during the peak season. Perhaps you've tried to encourage a colleague to take a task they were hesitant to accept, let's say. These are all situations where persuasion comes into play. The value of persuasive language lies in its ability to help you reach your goals more effectively, whether they are personal objectives, team targets, or corporate milestones. It's a bit like having a superpower, really. With it, you can shift conversations, open doors, and even turn around seemingly lost causes. The good news is that this isn't a gift bestowed upon a lucky few at birth. Persuasive language can be learned, and it starts with understanding and using the right phrases and expressions. Throughout this episode, we'll introduce you to a variety of these phrases, and we'll encourage you to repeat them back. After all, practice makes perfect. In the next section, we'll be moving from theory to practice. We'll share some of the most common English phrases for persuasion that you can incorporate into your professional repertoire. So stay tuned and get ready to fill up your persuasion toolkit with some truly powerful linguistic devices. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at one of the most exciting parts of our episode. It's time to delve into the nuts and bolts of persuasive language. We're going to share a selection of powerful phrases and expressions that give your persuasion skills a major boost. Remember, there's no such thing as a magic phrase that works in every situation. Context is key, and understanding when to use each phrase is just as important as knowing what phrase means what. But don't worry, we're here to guide you through every step. Let's begin with a simple yet effective phrase. Have you ever considered? Have you ever considered? This phrase is an excellent way to introduce a new idea or perspective in a non-threatening way. It's a gentle nudge rather than a forceful push. Next, I see where you're coming from, but... I see where you're coming from, but... This is a great way to show respect for another person's viewpoint while still presenting an alternative. It signals that you're open to dialogue, not just pushing your own agenda. And how about the phrase, just imagine if? Just imagine if. This is a creative tool, enabling you to paint a vivid picture in the listener's mind. You're asking them to envision a scenario, which can be a powerful way to shift their perspective. Of course, these are just a few of the many persuasive phrases at your disposal. Throughout the episode, we'll explore more phrases, explaining their meanings, discussing their usage, and giving you the opportunity to practice repeating them. The goal here isn't to just memorize these phrases, but to understand them and make them a part of your natural business communication. So, get ready, because we're just getting started, and remember, repetition is your friend here. Don't hesitate to pause the podcast, repeat the phrases, or even jot them down. The more you practice, the easier it will be to use these phrases in real-life situations. Stay tuned for more persuasive power phrases coming up next. Now, before jumping into the next section, I wanted to take this opportunity to let you know that if you wanted to get more out of the Business English podcast, then that is possible. For example, full transcripts complete with timestamps so you never miss an expression, phrase-focused one-pagers to quickly refresh your memory before that next last-minute meeting, pronunciation support to assist with the trickier elements of business English, live read-along transcripts, quizzes, and much more. If this sounds like it could be useful, then the Business English Podcast Premium subscription could be for you. Check out the details at the link in the show notes. Right, on with the show. Welcome back. We're about to transition from persuasion to the equally essential skill of influence. Now, influence isn't just about having power over someone else. It's not about manipulation or control. Instead, think of it as a kind of soft power that helps you guide decisions and motivate people without resorting to command or coercion. Influence is the trust you build with your colleagues that makes them consider your suggestions seriously. It's the respect you earn from your team that motivates them to go the extra mile when you ask. And it's the credibility you develop with your clients that convinces them to buy into your product or service. Just like persuasion, influence plays a critical role in many areas of business, from leadership and team dynamics to project management and client relationships. And just like persuasion, influence can be amplified through the right use of language. A significant part of becoming influential is developing a knack for expressing yourself in a way that resonates with others. That's why in the next section, we'll dive into some common English phrases that can help you project your influence in various professional scenarios. But remember, influence isn't built overnight. It's the result of consistent actions and words over time. So while these phrases can certainly help you on your path to becoming more influential, it's equally important to back them up with genuine effort and sincerity. So get ready to add some influential expressions to your business English toolkit, because that is where we're going next. And remember, practicing these phrases will help you use them more naturally and effectively. So let's keep going, and together we'll make your business English communication not just persuasive, but also influential. Okay, now that we've explored what influence means in the professional world, it's time to learn how to express it through language. We've handpicked a selection of powerful phrases and expressions designed to help you communicate with more authority, earn more trust, and build rapport. Let's start with a classic. What's your take on? What's your take on? This phrase is an excellent way to show respect for another person's opinion and involve them in the decision-making process. By doing so, you're subtly demonstrating your own value for collaborative and inclusive leadership. Another influential phrase is, I appreciate your efforts on. I appreciate your efforts on. Recognition is a powerful tool in building influence. By acknowledging the work of others, you show that you are attentive, appreciative, and supportive. This can go a long way in gaining their respect and trust. And here's another one. Could we explore the idea of? Instead of imposing your own ideas, this phrase encourages open discussion. It's a softer, more inclusive way to suggest new concepts or changes. Now, remember to repeat each phrase out loud and practice using them in different contexts. With time and practice, you'll find these phrases becoming a natural part of your business conversations. Stay tuned, because there's still more to come. Now, what better way to put all of these wonderful phrases and expressions we've learned into practice than a little bit of role play? Let's set the scene. Imagine you're a project leader and you've just proposed a new strategy for an upcoming project during a team meeting. Some members of your team are skeptical about the approach. I understand your concerns, you start, using a persuasive phrase that acknowledges their doubts while opening the door for your argument. Have you ever considered how this new approach could actually save us time and resources in the long run? Notice how this phrase, have you ever considered, allows you to bring a new perspective into the conversation without disregarding your team's initial reservations. Now let's switch to our influence hat. One of your team members has done an excellent job researching for this project. This is your opportunity to use one of our influential phrases. I appreciate your efforts on the research, Alex. Your findings have been invaluable to this project. By recognizing Alex's hard work, you're not only motivating him to continue doing well, but also showing the rest of the team that their efforts are noticed and valued. And let's throw in another phrase for good measure. What's your take on this, Kim? You ask, turning to another team member. You're giving Kim the floor, showing that you value her opinion too, and fostering a more inclusive and collaborative environment. This short role play is just an example of how you can weave these persuasive and influential phrases into your professional conversations. The key is to practice, practice, practice. You might stumble at first, but that's perfectly okay. With time and repetition, these phrases will become second nature. Remember, it's not just about memorizing phrases. It's about understanding when and how to use them effectively. So, keep practicing, and soon you'll find yourself mastering the art of persuasion and influence in business English. As we near the end of this journey into persuasion and influence in business English, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've covered. We've explored the meanings of persuasion and influence, delved into their significance in the professional world, and learned a variety of phrases to express them. From "Have you ever considered?" to "I appreciate your efforts on." We've unlocked a treasure trove of professional and powerful phrases to enhance your business communication skills. We've also role-played a professional scenario to see these phrases in action. But remember, this is just the beginning. Each of these phrases is a new tool in your toolkit, and like any tool, it becomes more effective with practice. So what's next? Well, that's largely up to you. We encourage you to keep practicing these phrases, repeat them until they feel natural, and then try and use them in your professional conversations. Experiment with different phrases in different situations and observe how they impact your interactions. And remember, learning a language, especially business English, is not a destination, but a journey. And like any journey, there will be bumps and detours along the way. But don't be discouraged. Each misstep is an opportunity to learn, grow, and improve. We hope this episode has given you a solid foundation for using persuasive and influential language in your professional life. But there's always more to learn. So stay curious, keep practicing, and remember that your ability to communicate effectively in business English is a constantly evolving skill. So take these phrases, practice them, and make them your own. You'll be surprised at the difference they make in your professional interactions. And of course, we would love to hear about your experiences. How are you applying these phrases in your professional life? Have they made a difference? Do you have any favourites? Drop us a comment or send us a message. We're always keen to hear from you. Thank you for spending your time with us today. We truly appreciate your company and are already looking forward to our next linguistic adventure together. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Business English podcast, where we'll continue exploring the rich and diverse language of the business world. But until next time, keep it strictly business. You have been listening to the Business English podcast. Remember to subscribe, leave a review, and we'll see you next time.